Morgan Freeman. For more than 50 years, his voice has been the soundtrack to some of cinema's most powerful moments. He's a living legend, an icon who has brought a quiet dignity to the silver screen for a generation of moviegoers. He's played God, a president, a convict, and a chauffeur, and in every single role, he's found a sense of truth that few actors ever manage to touch. He is truly an actor's actor, a man who has worked with just about everyone in Hollywood from its golden age to the modern era. He's shared the screen with titans and newcomers alike, witnessing firsthand how the craft of acting has evolved. But what does a man who has seen it all, worked with everyone, and reached the absolute pinnacle of his profession really think of his peers? For years, Freeman has been the consummate professional, a private man who lets his work do the talking. He isn't known for gossip or splashy announcements. But a legacy isn't just about the roles you play. It's about the respect you earn and, just as importantly, the admiration you give. While Freeman, now 88, hasn't released some official, formal list, looking back at decades of his interviews, tributes, and candid reflections, a clear picture emerges. A pattern of profound respect for a handful of artists who shaped him, challenged him, and earned his deepest admiration. This isn't about celebrity or fame. It's about craft, character, and the quiet moments between takes that define a career. This is a look at the 6 actors Morgan Freeman seems to love most. Before we get into this incredible group of artists, a true testament to greatness from one of the masters, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and have hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss our next deep dive into the stories that define Hollywood. Now, let's get to the first name on Morgan Freeman's esteemed list. First up is a man whose name is synonymous with intellectual power and terrifying intensity, Sir Anthony Hopkins. When Morgan Freeman talks about Anthony Hopkins, he speaks with the reverence of one master craftsman looking at a completely different, yet equally brilliant, style. Freeman's respect isn't just about Hopkins's obvious talent, but about the incredible economy of his work. In a world full of loud performances, Hopkins is a master of silence. Freeman beautifully articulated this when he explained how you can watch Anthony Hopkins and it doesn't look like he's doing anything at all. He's so still you can't see the work, but you're drawn completely into his character through that very stillness. This observation cuts to the heart of what makes Hopkins so unique. For Freeman, an actor who builds characters through connection and collaboration, Hopkins's method is almost alien yet totally mesmerizing. He sees Hopkins as an architect, a performer who shows up with the character already fully built in his mind. Every detail calculated with the precision of a watchmaker, their paths crossed in a major way. On the set of Steven Spielberg's 1997 epic Amistad, Freeman played Theodore Jodson, an abolitionist, while Hopkins took on the massive role of former President John Quincy Adams. It was a pairing of two giants, each with a different philosophy. Freeman thrives on the energy exchanged between actors in a scene. He finds truth in the give and take. Hopkins, on the other hand, is famous for his intense preparation, reportedly reading scripts hundreds of times until the words are part of his DNA. By the time he steps on set, the performance is locked in. Despite these different approaches, or maybe because of them, a deep professional respect was formed. Freeman was fascinated by how a performance could be so powerful, so emotionally resonant, yet seem so effortless on the surface. It's not that Hopkins isn't feeling the emotion. It's that he has such total control that he can convey a hurricane of feeling with just a flicker of his eye. Freeman has noted this difference in their styles not with judgment, but with genuine admiration. While Freeman finds the character in the moment with his scene partner, he respects that Hopkins finds the character in the quiet solitude of his own preparation. This mutual respect was obvious. People on the Amistad set recall a warm camaraderie between them, a clear acknowledgement that they were in the presence of a fellow master. One story even tells of Freeman greeting Hopkins on set with a playful jab. "You don't look like the guy I know named Anthony Hopkins," to which Hopkins, already deep in character, shot back, "No, I don't. Actually, I look like John Quincy Adams." Ultimately, Morgan Freeman's love for Anthony Hopkins is a deeply intellectual one. It's the respect of one master for another who has perfected a different, more mysterious style. It's an appreciation for the power of stillness in a very loud world. Next on Morgan Freeman's list is an actor he considered not just a peer, but a giant and a dear friend, the legendary Gene Hackman. Freeman's admiration for Hackman is full of warmth, born from the shared experience of creating what many consider a perfect film. When Freeman talks about Hackman, you can hear the gratitude in his voice, gratitude for his talent, his professionalism, and most of all, his generosity. Their most iconic collaboration was, of course, Clint Eastwood's 1992 masterpiece, Unforgiven. Freeman has called it a perfect movie, and in his eyes, a huge part of that perfection was Gene Hackman's towering performance as the brutal sheriff, Little Bill Daggett. Freeman played Ned Logan, and his scenes with Hackman are some of the most memorable in the film. It was during those intense moments that Freeman saw Hackman's true genius up close. Freeman often tells a chilling story from the filming of the jailhouse scene where Little Bill brutally beats Ned for information. Before one take, Hackman leaned in and whispered something that wasn't in the script. He said something like, "I'm going to ask you some questions, and if your answers don't match up, I'm going to hurt you." Freeman, a master actor himself, admitted that in that second, I believed him. The line between acting and reality blurred, and the fear on Ned Logan's face was completely real. That, for Freeman, was the mark of a master. Hackman was so believable he could create genuine terror with a few whispered words, but that intensity didn't come from an ego-driven actor. Just the opposite. Freeman remembers Hackman as one of the most generous scene partners he ever had. Hackman had a rare gift. He made everyone around him better. Freeman explained that acting with Gene meant you had to bring your absolute best. Because Hackman set the bar so incredibly high, yet did it so effortlessly you barely noticed. He made it easy to be great. Their friendship went beyond one film. They worked together again on the thriller Under Suspicion in 2000, and the respect only grew. Freeman saw Hackman as a man who carried his immense talent with a quiet humility. Hackman retired from acting in 2004, not with a big farewell tour, but with a quiet retreat from the spotlight, a decision Freeman deeply respected. It showed he was dedicated to the work, not the fame that came with it. For Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman was the ideal of a working actor's actor, a man of incredible power on screen and incredible generosity off of it. It's impossible to talk about Morgan Freeman's career without talking about the man who directed him to his first and only Oscar. Next up is the stoic icon of American cinema, Clint Eastwood. Freeman's love for Eastwood is a unique thing, a mix of deep friendship, professional respect, and what Freeman himself has touchingly called a quiet love affair. Their work together has given us modern classics like Unforgiven, $1 Million, Baby, and Invictus *. What Freeman admires most about Eastwood isn't just his directing style, but his whole philosophy. It's built on two things, speed and respect. Freeman has repeatedly praised Eastwood's legendary efficiency. "He just doesn't fool around," Freeman once explained. "We've got it, let's move on." This no-nonsense approach, often shooting just one or two takes, is the opposite of how many directors work. But for an actor like Freeman, it's liberating. It's a sign of complete trust, and that leads to the bigger reason for Freeman's admiration, Eastwood's profound respect for actors. "He hires you to do the job, so he ain't doing it for you," Freeman said. In Eastwood's world, an actor is a fellow artist, not a puppet. He expects you to come prepared and to deliver. In return, he gives you the space and freedom to do your best work. Freeman describes his sets as uniquely comfortable and enabling, because Clint simply steps back and lets the actors play. This is the environment where Freeman shines. Their partnership started with a bit of luck. Freeman first heard about the script for what would become Unforgiven from Kevin Costner. About a year and a half later, the call came. Clint Eastwood wanted him for the part. From the moment they started working together, Freeman said, "It was like we'd been doing it forever." There was an immediate, effortless chemistry. This connection only deepened. For Million Dollar Baby, the film that earned Freeman his Oscar, Eastwood called him directly after hearing he was interested. And when it came time to make Invictus, a project Freeman was developing himself, he said he could only think of two people to direct it, Clint and Eastwood. Their on-screen friendship often mirrored their real-life dynamic. In both Unforgiven and Million Dollar Baby, their characters share a deep, unspoken bond. It's a reflection of their actual relationship. Eastwood, a man of few words, shows his admiration for Freeman through his actions by repeatedly casting him in pivotal, dignified roles that showcase his immense talent. For Freeman, Clint Eastwood is more than... There are actors you admire for their craft, and then there are those you revere for their very existence. For Morgan Freeman, Sidney Poitier is firmly in that second category. Poitier isn't just a name on a list. He's the foundational figure, the trailblazer, the man who made Freeman's own career possible. When Freeman talks about Sidney Poitier, his voice changes from professional admiration to deep, almost spiritual gratitude. Poitier was, in Freeman's own words, his inspiration. My guiding light, my friend. To really get it, you have to picture the world where a young Morgan Freeman first dreamed of being an actor. As he has said many times, when I was growing up, there was no me in the movies. The few black men on screen were mostly sidekicks. Or stereotypes. They weren't the heroes. They weren't the leading men. Poitier shattered that reality. With groundbreaking performances in films like Lila of the Field, for which he became the first black man to win the Best Actor Oscar in the heat of the night, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Poitier carved a new path. He did it. Not just with talent, but with an untouchable grace and integrity. He proved that a black actor could be the moral center of a story and a romantic lead. For a young Freeman watching from the segregated South, this wasn't just a revelation. It was a revolution. Poitier showed him his dream was actually possible. Sidney Poitier came and gave young people like me the idea that, okay, yes, I can do that. Freeman recalled. Freeman saw Poitier as someone who didn't just open doors, but built the very doors for others to walk through. He has openly said he tried to pattern his own life and career after the trail. Poitier blazed not to imitate him, but to strive for that same level of dignity and class. Their relationship grew from distant inspiration into a real friendship. When they finally met, Freeman was a star in his own right, but he said that in Poitier's presence, he still felt like a student before a master. The admiration was mutual. In a beautiful passing of the torch, Freeman once shared a conversation where he told Poitier, "I wanted to be like you," to which Poitier, with incredible humility, replied, "I wanted to be like you." When Sidney Poitier passed away in 2022, Freeman's tribute was simple and powerful, saying everything Poitier meant to him. "Sidney was my inspiration, my guiding light, my friend." It was the statement of a man who had lost not just a colleague, but the very North Star that had guided his journey. For Morgan Freeman, Sidney Poitier wasn't just an actor he loved. He was the artist who gave him permission to dream. There are actors who are brilliant, actors who are professional, and actors who are legends. And then there's Jack Nicholson, a category all his own. For Morgan Freeman, Jack Nicholson represents the absolute thrill of acting. His admiration for Nicholson is visceral, tinged with the kind of excitement you feel watching a true force of nature. To Freeman, Nicholson is the definition of fearless, an actor who performs without a net and takes risks that would terrify anyone else. Freeman's admiration for Nicholson started long before they ever shared a screen. He was an idol, someone he'd watched in awe since Easy Rider and 5 Easy Pieces. For decades, working with Jack was literally on Freeman's bucket list. He once joked that he'd give a very personal part of his anatomy just for the chance to work with him. That chance finally came in 2007 with The Bucket List. The film, about two terminally ill men on a final adventure, was the perfect vehicle for these two legends. For Freeman, the experience was a milestone, a full-circle moment that took him from a young actor in the audience to a co-star standing shoulder to shoulder with his hero. In an interview, Freeman gave a fascinating look into what it was like. He said that when they were on set, it was all business. When we were working at work. he explained. But the moment he got home, the reality would hit him. He'd think to himself, Jesus, Jack Nicholson. It was a pinch-me moment that never wore off. What Freeman admires so deeply about Nicholson is his unpredictable, live-wire energy. He respects his ability to be both wildly chaotic and completely in control at the same time. But that wild energy was backed by a serious work ethic. Freeman discovered that Nicholson was also a stinking writer, someone who agonized over every detail in the script, constantly tweaking lines to find the perfect rhythm. Freeman described his dynamic with Nicholson not as a competition but as a ride-along. We ride together, he explained. You take your run, I'm in it, ... So here comes mine. I just want to compliment what you're doing. It was a creative partnership. Freeman, ever the generous performer, saw his role as complementing the brilliant, unpredictable energy that Nicholson brought to every scene. He didn't try to match it. He danced with it. When asked if it was hard to work with other strong males on set, Freeman's response was simple. Easy, strong males aren't doing anything but acting. It's a statement from a man who is completely secure in his own talent. He wasn't intimidated by Nicholson's larger-than-life persona. He was inspired by it. At the very top of Morgan Freeman's list, in a place reserved for the pinnacle of the craft, stands Denzel Washington. Freeman's feelings about Denzel are maybe the most complex and revealing of all. It's not just admiration. It is, in Freeman's own shockingly honest words, envy. But this isn't envy from a place of jealousy. It's the envy of a master looking at another and seeing the perfect realization of his own highest dreams. I'm so very envious of Denzel's career, Freeman admitted in a candid interview, because he's doing what I wanted to do. That one powerful statement explains decades of Hollywood history. You have to look at the different worlds these two men came from. When Freeman was starting out, the roles for black actors, even one with his immense talent, were extremely limited. He fought for every chance he got, slowly building a career in supporting roles until his sheer gravity could no longer be denied. He became a legend, but the road was tough. Denzel Washington, 17 years younger, entered a Hollywood that was, in part, changed by Freeman and Poitier before him. He was free to take on powerful, complex, leading roles right from the start of his career. He could play heroes and anti-heroes, from Malcolm X to a corrupt cop in Training Day. This is the career Freeman dreamed of, the one he knew he was capable of if the opportunities had been there. Seeing Denzel not just take on these roles but master them with unmatched intensity fills Freeman with awe. Their history goes back to their early days in New York theater. As a popular story goes, they were in a production of Shakespeare's Coriolanus together. Freeman was the lead, and a young, ambitious Denzel had a smaller part. Denzel, full of ideas, supposedly approached Freeman with suggestions for their sword fight scene, hoping to add some extra stabs. Freeman, in his telling, looked at the young actor, asked his name, and then deadpanned, "All right, Denzel. We click the swords 3 times. I stab you, you fall down, and you die. Quickly." Whether it's true or not, it marks the start of a lifelong journey of mutual respect. Freeman has watched Denzel's career like a proud mentor and an admiring peer. He sees in Washington a force of nature. He particularly praised Denzel's game-changing, Oscar-winning performance in the 1989 film Glory, where they both starred. Watching Denzel then, Freeman knew he was seeing something special. For Freeman, Denzel represents more than just talent. He represents integrity. When Denzel won his Best Actor Oscar for Training Day, Freeman was one of the loudest people cheering. For him, a beautiful symbol of one generation celebrating the triumph of the next. In Denzel, Morgan Freeman sees the fulfillment of a promise, the promise of what's possible when immense talent finally meets boundless opportunity, and for that, he's not just an admirer, he is eternally and respectfully envious. So that's the list. The 6 actors who have earned the highest admiration from a true Hollywood legend. From the quiet mastery of Anthony Hopkins to the generous power of Gene Hackman, the enabling trust of Clint Eastwood, the trailblazing courage of Sidney Poitier, the fearless energy of Jack Nicholson, and the aspirational excellence of Denzel Washington. This is more than just a list of names. It's a map of Morgan Freeman's artistic soul. It reveals the values he cherishes: integrity, generosity, and a fearless dedication to the craft. Each of these 6 men, in their own way, reflects a quality that Freeman himself has shown throughout his incredible career. They aren't just actors he loves. They are the pillars that have helped hold up his own artistic temple. Morgan Freeman's own legacy is secure. But perhaps his greatest legacy is his ability to see and so beautifully express the greatness in others. It's the mark of a true master, a man who knows that even when you reach the top, there is still so much value in looking up to the other giants who stand there with you. Who do you think belongs on a list of the greats? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories about Hollywood's most iconic figures, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.